Since 2020, there has been an influx of AI platforms for educational use. But I am not kidding when I tell you guys that NotebookLM is truly one of a kind. And in this session, we're going to talk all about NotebookLM, its uses for you in your educational spaces, but also its uses for you if you are on an educational journey yourself. The following screenshots will show you what you get with NotebookLM's free version along with NotebookLM Plus, the paid version, and you get that via Google One AI. And just so you know, I have never needed the paid version. So let's get started with the anatomy of a notebook. Here I am in my NotebookLM dashboard, and you'll notice a lot of tiles. Each of these tiles is its own notebook. When you create a new notebook, you're always going to get an emoji. These emojis are not customizable by you. They are assigned by Google. You have the title. You can customize that. And then you have the date that you created the notebook. Next to the date, you'll see a number next to the word source or sources. This is how many sources you have in that notebook. I'll show you what that means here in just a little bit. In addition, you also have 3 dots. In Google, you know 3 dots always means more options. So when you click on that, you have the option to delete this notebook or edit the title of the notebook. So in terms of customizing the look of your notebook, there isn't much customization that you can do because the real magic happens inside the notebook. Also on this dashboard, you'll notice Google-ish, right? Here I am, I'm in grid view, but I can also switch to list view. And in list view, you can see that this looks very much like your Google Drive. You can see the title of your notebook, how many sources you're using in that notebook, when that notebook was created, whether or not it's shared, the role, and then again, more options. If you click on more options, you can delete it or you can edit the title. I prefer the grid view. In addition, I have a button that says most recent. This is how I can sort my notebooks. So currently most recent will always appear first. I could switch it to title, in which case it's going to be alphabetical. And then the other thing you're going to see here is the create new button. In order to create a new notebook, you'll also see that right here. Under settings, I do go here to switch it from dark mode to light mode on occasion. I tend to use NotebookLM in dark mode, but you could switch it to light mode if you wanted to. And then it looks like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up one of my notebooks so that we can see everything in there. I'm going to open up this Illinois Assessment of Readiness Test notebook. So I created a notebook that my staff could use for the Illinois Assessment of Readiness. When you think about how you want to use these notebooks, there really is no limit, because the problem is that our world as educators is inundated with material, information, PDFs, right? And NotebookLM really is the solution to being able to dig into all of those materials and understanding what each of those is. So here I am in my notebook. I've got 3 panels. I've got the left-hand panel. Think of that as input, because you're going to input your sources or upload your sources. Then you have the middle panel. Think of this as the interactivity, the processing part. And then the right-hand side is the studio. This is where the output lives. In NotebookLM, they have several buttons for you to use while you're interacting with your sources. And we'll get to those buttons here in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and go back to the left-hand side of the panel. In this particular notebook, I have 7 sources, and they're all currently checked. You can interact with a source as long as it is checked. So if I uncheck all of my sources, then I'm not interacting with any of them. You'll see down here in the middle section, in the chat section, it says 0 sources. I need to have a source or some of my sources checked, obviously, in order to interact with it, right? I'm going to go ahead and check accessibility features. What I did was I took manuals from the IAR and I put them into NotebookLM so that when I'm in the thick and the frenzy of testing time, I act as a testing coordinator for my district. So when I'm in the thick of it, if somebody has a question, I don't have to search for the answer in a physical binder, although I do keep a physical binder anyway, but I can then just search for the answer using NotebookLM. One of the great things about NotebookLM is that it isn't going to have any of those funky hallucinations from the internet, right? It's not, because it's not interacting with sources that you haven't uploaded. It's only interacting with anything that you've given it, so you're eliminating the chance for it to hallucinate or make mistakes. So now that I've got something checked, I can also see that this has turned to one source, and now I can begin to interact with this source. So I can say, I can ask it a question. I want this PDF summarized. And NotebookLM is going to work, and it's going to summarize this PDF for me. So here is the summary of this PDF. And these numbers are citations. It's telling me where in the source material it pulled that information from. So each of these numbers, you can click on it. It's going to open up the left-hand source panel and show you exactly where in the material it got that information. Every time you ask a question in NotebookLM, it always prompts you with more questions. Your questions are limited to just your imagination. I could say, okay, now this is too long. Give me 2 paragraphs. There it is. It gave it to me in 2 paragraphs. I could say, now I want this in Spanish. And now it gave it to me in Spanish. So you get the idea. You can ask, you can interact directly with your source or sources through NotebookLM. I want to direct your attention to the right side of your notebook. This part is called the Studio, and there are currently, in the free version, there are 8 buttons. In the paid version, there are 9 buttons. The only one missing from here is a data table, and they may or may not include that in a later iteration, I'm not sure, but that's the only thing that you're missing right now. From here, you can create an audio overview of your source materials. I currently have only one thing checked, and if I select audio overview, it's going to give me an audio overview of just the source material that I have checked. So anytime I am working in the studio version, I need to make sure that I'm choosing what I want to work with in the studio version. So if I only have one thing checked, this is what I'm actually working with in the studio. So I'm going to keep this as just the one thing checked. I can create all of these things. The one I'm going to show you is quiz, because when I think of real applications for you in your classrooms, this is one of the ways that you can upload your source material and have NotebookLM create a quiz for you. While it's creating the quiz, I want to go over a few of the buttons on this side. You can't always use it the way you would imagine. So here's what I mean. When it creates an audio overview that is downloadable as an MP3, so you can listen to it anywhere. The video overview is a movie-like that you can also download and access in other places. The mind map, the same thing. Reports, the same thing. Flashcards. It will create beautiful flashcards that work beautifully in the system of NotebookLM. When you go to download those flashcards, they will download to an Excel or a Google Sheet depending on what system you're using. So it's going to download it in a table. So it's not going to be usable flashcards like you're going to use in the system. And then the next one that doesn't quite work the way you think it would be slide deck. When I see the word slide deck, I think of a Google slide deck or a PowerPoint. When you go to download anything that you create as a slide deck, it's going to download as a PDF. It's not going to download as an actual slide deck, Google slide deck or PowerPoint that you can then edit. So it's finished the quiz, I can click on the quiz. And now I can interact with this quiz right here in NotebookLM. And when I say me, think about your students, right? So I can read the question, answer it. Notice how it's giving me the right answer if I get it wrong. It's not going to keep score or anything, but it's a great way to have your students practice with information, use it as a study guide, that sort of thing, right? I'm going to go ahead and close the app viewer here so you can see some other things. The other thing that's really popular and that I like to use all the time myself is the audio overview. There are two components to the audio overview. The audio overview is a podcast. They call it a deep dive between two people, right? AI generated, obviously. And you can just listen to the podcast. You can just play it and listen to it.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've got something pretty specific in front of us. It's the rule book, really, for making standardized tests fair. We're talking about the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, the IAR, specifically their accessibility features and accommodations manual. And our mission here is to get behind the official language and figure out how administrators actually make sure these tests give valid results for every student. That includes.
So you get the idea. But also in a deep dive, you can also enter interactive mode.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've got something pretty specific in front of us. It's the rule book, really, for making standardized tests fair.
Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
I have posters up in my classroom. Can I keep those up during testing?
That is a great question.
And a really common one.
Okay, let's unpack this for you.
The short answer is almost certainly no.
The manuals are extremely clear on this point.
You must remove or cover any classroom display.
Anything that defines, explains, illustrates terminology or concepts.
Or anything that provides unauthorized assistance during testing.
So that includes posters.
So you get the idea that you can listen to the podcast, or you could have your students listen to it and then interact in a real-time way where they're actually asking questions and getting them answered in real time. When you're getting answers to your questions, those are called notes, right? And so anytime that you get an answer, you can save it to a note. When you do that, it's going to show up in your studio. So this Spanish summary, I selected Save to Note, and now it's showing up in my studio right there. And I can interact with it here, right? With this note, now that I've opened it up, I can convert it to a source. And that means that it's going to take just this Spanish summary and it's going to place it in my sources section. And so now it's there, right? And from here I can check it, and then I can interact with it in the manner that I interact with any other sources. I could make a quiz, I could make flashcards, I can make an audio overview, I can make a video overview, I can do the mind map, right? Now it's your turn to create a notebook. So in order to access NotebookLM, you're simply going to go to your Omnibox and type in NotebookLM and select the first link that pops up and then select Try NotebookLM. This is attached to your Google account, so if you don't have a Google account, you have to create one. Once you're here to create a new notebook, you're either going to go here where it says Create New Notebook, or to the top right and select Create New. And these are the file types that you can use to upload. Remember, we talked about the 3 panels in your dashboard. So input, these are the types of files that you can input or upload to your notebook. The supported file types are listed here. You can also choose to upload files directly from your Google Drive. You can upload files via a link, so a website or YouTube. If you're uploading a website URL, there has to be text on that website, so picture-heavy websites won't work well because it's going to try to read the text. If you're going to upload a YouTube video, the same thing, there has to be a script attached to that YouTube because it's going to read the script and that's going to be your source. It's not really going to be the video portion so much as it is the script. And then you can also paste in text. Your source limit for the free version, which is what we've been talking about this entire time, is 50 uploads, and that's plenty. I've never exceeded that. So let's just say that I'm going to choose my file. I'm going to do a PNG, and I'm also going to do a PDF, and I'm also going to do a screenshot. And immediately my 3 sources are being put into my notebook, and it automatically named this multimedia learning tools. And remember, you can change that. The very last thing that I want to show you is in the middle section in the chat, there's this icon that in Google it's your filter, but here in NotebookLM it allows you to configure your notebook. So how do you want to interact with this notebook? Default is selected. You can use it as a learning guide. You can customize how you want to interact with it. You could also choose your response length, default, longer, and shorter. This is really important because remember that you can share these, right? If I'm sharing this notebook with my students via Google Classroom, which you can do, I'm going to use it as a learning guide. And I know that my students are going to be able to interact with it in a question answer type setting. So there you go. That's how easy it is to create your notebook. I've shown you one way that I have used NotebookLM. How will you use it?